You are listening to the Racer to Racer podcast presented by Race 92. Race 92 is a vintage-inspired racing apparel brand specializing in celebrating vintage race culture and adapting to motorsports today. Check out race92.com for all your racing merchandise needs. I'm your co-host, Aaron Mack, the other co-host. You may have seen walking out of a great clips with a big old smile on his face. You've probably seen him at a dirt track. He is a one and only Scott Bowie.
Hello, Aaron.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. So we are real close to May. Well, we're in May, but we're real close to all the
I was going to
festivities
say,
starting.
we're so close that we're in May.
We're so close. We're in May, exactly. But no, definitely looking forward to it. We have the Grand Prix this weekend, and that's one of the reasons why the show we're releasing today is Rinus Veekay, who actually won the Grand Prix last year.
Yeah, man, Rinus, great. Had such a great race last year, and then he's coming off a really strong run at Barber.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like his time is starting to come a little bit. He obviously didn't win at Barber, but he was extremely strong, and yeah, just so happy to get to talk to him. And we actually did this interview a little bit before all the rumors started happening about him making his way to McLaren.
Yeah.
Along with Rossi. So, it's definitely an interesting time in this person's life, and just was glad to get a chance to talk to him.
Absolutely. Definitely one of the, big talents of the sport, and really nice guy, super, super nice guy who, I guess kind of came up through the road to Indy. Well, he was leasing Indy Lights. I don't know if I forget what he did before Indy Lights.
Yeah, I don't either. I remember he was really strong in Indy Lights. I don't remember what he did before that. Boy, big talent though, right? I mean, he's got a lot of it.
Absolutely. So, and yeah, so thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you haven't already, make sure you hit like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, subscribe and check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, anywhere where podcasts can be found. So, next week, we're going to release Scott Goodyear, which was a really great interview. Obviously, someone who was a very successful IndyCar driver, well, really racing driver in general. Also had a very successful career after racing. Obviously doing the TV broadcast, one of the I would definitely consider one of the greats of doing broadcasting, definitely IndyCar racing. Was very good at it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Scott, he turned kind of his big moment into a nice career, right? I mean, everybody remembers him from '92, in his duel with Little Al and almost won in the race. But he really seized on all that, and had a great career as a driver, had a great career as an announcer. He's still in the sport of auto racing as it is today, and he's basically mentoring younger drivers and in a roundabout way. So so he's got, I mean, he just loves the sport. He's in the sport, and the sport's better off for him still being in it.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, no, he was definitely very kind with his time, and we talked to him for quite a bit, and it was really really good conversation. So the week after that, we are going to have Indy 500 driver winner, Indy 500 winner, I should say, Indy 500 driver and Indy 500 winner, and that was really really cool interview, and I know everyone will enjoy that. We definitely wanted to release that the week of the 500.
Yeah. So yeah, just like you said, it was a great talk, and he's kind of making rounds now, and it's good. It's good to see him. It's good to hear his story. We definitely in that interview we tried to focus more on his racing than than maybe some of the other things. But anyway, when we announce it next week, I think everybody will be pleased to hear it. We're trying to find another 500 winner, I think, to do the show. So hopefully we can release a couple of those, and then we have some special things planned as well. So this month, I love the month of May, right? It's the greatest time of the year. This time of the year and Christmas time are the best times of the year for me. And it's just we get a chance to do some different things that we don't normally do, and we're still lining out some of the shows. But look for various content from this show in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, kind of up to this point, we're really just a podcast and really trying to, broaden out a little bit. And so we definitely have some things planned to get some other content that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, me too. And it's stuff that we will, if we don't get it shown this month, we'll get it shown first week of June. Hopefully we can get it all edited, and when I say we, I
That's
mean
easy.
Aaron.
I know, I was laughing. I was like,
Uh,
it's easy for you to say.
but hopefully we can get it. Hopefully everything goes smoothly enough
Yep.
and
No.
everything works in a time schedule where he can work his magic and be fun. And it'd be something we hope other people find fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we definitely have plans to, start doing some like podcast mobile or in on location. So we have a setup now. So we're super excited about that. We're working on something here very soon. By soon, I mean starting tomorrow, of a place to film or record that we have permission to record at now. So we're excited about that. So working out all the bugs on that. Special thanks to them. They know who they are. And we'll announce that once we get a little closer.
Right. Yeah. So we'll have at least for maybe a show a month or something. We'll be
There, yeah.
We'll be able to do something remote, or at least what we would consider remote. In a location. I guess we almost consider it permanent, actually, if we want to be technical about it.
Until they get tired
but
of
it's
us.
also until they get tired of us, and then but it'll also hopefully in the future allow us to do some things remotely.
Yeah.
Where we can kind of go to events and hopefully maybe do some stuff like that. So very excited about that. The future's always bright. So things are looking good.
And we are going to do the five. I don't know if we mentioned it. So obviously we're going to have 500 winner, but we're also going to do like the 500 preview show like we did last year. So working on some things about that. And hey, if anyone has any ideas for anything that you'd like to see, make sure you leave a comment.
Yeah, please share them. Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of great ideas that I'll never come up with that other people will have. And if you're interested in seeing something, please let us know. If there's a person you want us to interview, if there is a topic you want us to cover, anything. So please feel free to reach out.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think do we have any racing news? I guess we have a little bit of racing news. Obviously, the NASCAR race at Darlington yesterday was pretty entertaining, at least the last couple laps.
Yeah, William Byron was not happy with Joey Logano. Joey Logano said that was just retaliation for what William Byron had done to him. It's just typical stock car racing, really. I mean, he said, so you just go on down the road. The favors will be returned at some point. That's just how that type of racing is. Joey Logano, winner. I could not tell you anything past that. And of course, then there was the Miami Grand Prix where Max Verstappen takes another. If he finishes races, he wins. So he takes another checkered flag.
Yeah, I thought the Miami Grand Prix, I obviously don't know all the numbers and everything behind it, but seemed to be a pretty big success. Seemed to be a lot of attention around it. I know Liberty Media made a couple statements about something about, it's bigger than the Indy 500 or whatever.
Well, it wasn't so much it was bigger. They were talking about how much
the
better
TV
the broadcast is than the Speedway. And I thought that was a little uncalled for, especially since the IndyCar drivers were there really supporting their event.
Absolutely.
And to my knowledge, none of the IndyCar principals had ever said anything about
F1,
at least publicly. So I thought that was a little uncalled for. Maybe it was taken out of context. I don't know. It's a little too bad, but I don't necessarily agree with some of the stuff they were saying. Of course, you always want everything to be better. I think Formula One is feeling pretty good about themselves these days. Liberty Media, at least, is.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, I thought it was uncalled for, but that's what he felt like he needed to say. Um, it's too bad. I don't know. You know me. I respect the F1 drivers. I respect the technology. Not a huge fan of F1 racing, but it has been better in the last couple of years than it had been before. So I don't know. It is what it is, right? I know that behind the scenes, I don't even know it's behind the scenes, but you're starting to see stories now creep out where the big teams like Mercedes are not happy that the smaller teams like Haas are able to compete with them now, because they have the budget hard cap. They had to let a bunch of people go. Well, those people all had to go get jobs. Well, you let some of the wrong engineers go, and they go find jobs at teams that used to be lesser than you, and all of a sudden they take that knowledge with them. And then I guess they're also something about wind tunnel, testing and sharing of wind tunnel information. So the teams that sees themselves as the A level teams are not happy with the teams that they see as the B level teams being able to compete with them. I say deal with it. That's auto racing. I don't know what to tell you. If Mercedes Benz can't figure out how to beat them, I don't know what to tell them.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, no, they're definitely struggling. I mean, by struggling, they're still top 5 most of the time, but compared to how it's been the past few years, it's definitely a change of pace for them.
I thought there was a really strange exchange in that race yesterday when whatever the name of the team principal is, I don't remember if it's Christian or Toto or whichever guy is in charge of Mercedes. Um, he comes across and he asks Hamilton if he wants to go to soft tires. And Hamilton's response was basically, "Hey, you tell me." Basically Hamilton was saying, "Hey, my job is to drive this thing. It's you guys' job to get this thing figured out, make me go fast." And I agree with Lewis on that, to be honest with you. I mean, it wasn't said in so many words, but he was basically saying, "Hey, you ain't putting this on me. You figure it out." So
Right.
I don't think that, I respected him for saying that, to be honest with you. They definitely got problems. I honestly figured they would have some of their problems figured out by now, but they don't, and that tells me that I don't think maybe the problems they've got with that car they're gonna be able to cure.
Yeah, no, really makes you wonder. And you saw the thing about the whole jewelry ban with the FIA and all that.
Yeah, so my stance on that is I agree with the FIA. Um, because when you start talking, I mean, earrings like the platinum earrings. I mean, you've got your helmet on, but I mean, if you're talking heat transfer from the jewelry to the skin, I mean, you can get some extremely horrific burns.
Sure.
And they were also saying if you're wearing small jewelry, it can get lodged in your throat, which I agree with. Um, but like I said, if they're willing to sign waivers, man,
That's what
let
Lewis
them
said,
have at it.
and he tried to he made a statement or tried to make a statement by going that with 3 3 watches on and all that,
Right.
which is kind of funny, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with them, but I definitely I my tendencies to side more with the FIA because it is safety issues. Vettel walking around with his underwear outside of his uniform. I guess there was a fireproof underwear controversy, and he was making a mockery of that by
Where did
wearing
he do
his
that?
down there. He was wearing his
Really?
Puma underwear outside his uniform. Yeah,
I didn't know
and
about that.
so I guess, and I don't know what the controversy totally is, but wearing the approved fireproof underwear. And I would tell anybody, if you are dumb enough not to wear the fireproof underwear, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you can't look at Grosjean's hands, and if you can't look at somebody, I mean, if you can't look at Nelson or not SPK, but oh, um, the movie Rush, the other character,
Yeah. Niki Lauda.
Nikki Lauda. Sorry, I know I should be able to say it off the top of my head. If you can't look at Nikki Lauda, and if you can't look at other people who suffered horrendous fires in their careers and say, boy, fireproof underwear is probably a smart idea, man, if you're dumb enough to say that, then just sign a waiver and deal with whatever happens to you. At some point you can't protect people from themselves either, right? So I don't know that part there. I think that's a ridiculous fight to have, is not wanting to wear the fireproof underwear.
I don't know. Like I know at one point in IndyCar, some of the drivers wore like the short sleeve. And I don't know. There may be some kind of requirement now where you have to wear a long sleeve. I'm not real sure.
Well, they were wearing short sleeve and short underwear, like
Yeah.
they had thigh length and short sleeves. I know the cars are hot. I understand that. I do. But it's
At
no
that
hotter
point,
than
is it going to make
than
it?
a
Yeah.
fire.
At that point, like, is a longer sleeve shirt? I mean, you already have a heavy, warm driver's suit on. I mean, is it going to make that much of a difference at that point? Probably not.
Right. These guys are so physically fit today,
Yeah.
and they have drinking systems, and man, just wear it. It's that's a hell of a hill to take a stance on, right? I, I've seen too many guys burn. I've seen how horrific fire can be. I know the stories of people who've had to go to those burn units and be scraped and scraped and scraped with those steel brushes and their skin grafts. And man, wear the underwear. If it gives you 3 seconds, 4 seconds more protection, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
which I know it's more than that, just wear it.
Sure.
It's better than the alternative. Trust me.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, that's my 2 cents. I'm not in those cars. It's not my life. They can do whatever they want. If they're willing to sign waivers, have at it. But
Yeah, pretty much.
it's ridiculous.
Well, I think we've tried to solve enough of the world's problems.
Yeah, me too. I would just say this one thing that they've done such a better job of with the underwear in the last 10, 15 years with the products they make. It pulls the sweat away from your body,
Yeah,
so you don't
sure.
have the sweat against your skin. And I know that people know this, but like if you wear cotton or if you've got a bunch of sweat on you when you're on fire, it's not just the fire that damages you. That heat starts to boil you. You're being boiled.
Sure.
You get horrific burns
Yeah.
from just your sweat soaked clothes and the sweat on your body, and it's just they've got the technology so good today. Just wear it.
Yeah, I know they've developed some stuff in past years, like the cool vests and stuff. That I know some of the IndyCar guys. I know VK actually has worn, because I remember seeing pictures of him wearing something like that. So I don't know how. And I've heard that it only lasts so long. Obviously, I mean you're in a car over 100 degrees or whatever, and the vest is only going to stay cool for so long.
Yeah, because I don't think they can run a pump system on these.
No.
So without the pump system or without the gravity fed system, the cool suit the cool suit actually makes it worse later on when it
Right.
gets up. And but I'm just talking about even just the standard clothing just wicks the sweat away from your body, and
Sure.
that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot different than what it was like 15 years ago. Definitely, that was real thick stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they've changed the thickness of the uniforms. They've changed a lot of it. I don't know quite the technology they're using today. I know about 15 years ago, it probably come out called Carbon X,
Mhm.
and the way it was made, it withstood higher temperatures for longer, or it withstood temperatures for longer, is what I'm trying to say. And it would also wick the sweat away from your body. And and I'm sure all the new underwear was made very similar. So there's good technology there.
And the
Just
driver
where,
suits too have changed a lot, where that makes a big difference
yeah,
as well. A lot lighter now.
yeah, right.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the Rinus VK interview. Hope everyone enjoys and tune in next week for Scott Goodyear. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and make sure you hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, everybody.
Our guest today is a 2021 Grand Prix of Indianapolis IndyCar race winner. He is the youngest front row starter ever in the Indianapolis 500, starting third in the 2021 race. He is currently in his third IndyCar season and driving the number 21 Ed Carpenter Racing IndyCar. We're joined by Rinus VK. Rinus, thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going very well. Very happy with the start of this 2022 season. So yeah, cannot be much better for me.
Right, and I remember watching the St. Pete race. They were a big thing they were talking about is how you. So I think last year you lived in Indy, right, and then you just moved to Florida.
Yes, correct. Yeah, just after the Indy 500, I moved to Florida.
Right. So was that more of like a just because it's warm there all the time, so it's easier to train all year?
Yeah, it's warm all year round, and I'm mostly home in the winter, so that
Right.
definitely helps. And I have to commit going to the US. So if it's a nice weather here in the winter, it's just more fun for me, and definitely I want to go to the US now.
Right. No, I remember listening. I think you were on a radio show, and so when you lived in Indy, they were talking about how you used to ride your bike everywhere. And they said you like rode your bike like all the way down to like Martinsville or something, right? Or Bargersville or something like that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did. I do long bike rides. Actually, right now I'm in the bike cycling kit. So I've done a nice ride today with my girlfriend. And yeah, I think it's a nice way to stay fit for driving a race car, unless you fall.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, that definitely happened to you.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you first started racing?
I was 8 years old when I got a go-kart for my birthday. And actually the day before my 16th birthday was my first ever car race.
So would you say at that point, like you had a racing goal? Like what was it, a race in Formula One or Indy 500? Like what was your goal if you had one at that point?
Yeah, when I did my first ever car race, that's when it really became serious. I really had the goal to get to IndyCar and try to become the best in the sport.
Right.
What is it about IndyCar that attracts you so much? So many people from overseas. F1 is where their heart is. What is it about IndyCar?
I think in IndyCar, really talent shows, and talent gets rewarded with wins or podiums and good results. Unless in F1 you got to have the talent, but the car and the equipment is so much more important. Of course, it's not equal. It's not 100% equal in IndyCar, but there's way less money involved, and as a driver, you have way more opportunity to get into IndyCar and become successful.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
No, I was going to say, so 2017 was USF 2000. So that was your first year season racing in US, right?
Yes, correct.
So what was that transition like, racing overseas and then, moving over to the US to, pursue the IndyCar because I'm guessing that's why you moved over here was to, eventually move into IndyCar.
Yes, it's not a lot different actually. For me, I did not really do too much open wheel racing in Europe. I kind of started all the way from the bottom in the US, and I don't really know any difference. So I think that's a good thing. And I really learned the IndyCar basics also from the side of IndyCar. And it was very valuable to drive in the same events as IndyCar as a young guy.
Sure.
When you started doing that, and at what point, and we just talked about your bike riding, keeping in shape. At what point did you realize about the level of fitness you would have to get, and did you start and gradually ramp up, or did you start with a pretty heavy fitness routine right off the bat?
When I was 16, I tried to do the best I could, but I didn't really have the knowledge. And then when I was 17, I got a personal trainer who really was with me all the time. And I actually stopped this off season with him, and because I got to do it myself now. But I think really from the bottom, I tried to do everything I could from every side, from every aspect, and it definitely paid off. Like my first ever IndyCar race was not as tough as other guys I see from with the same experience.
Right. So obviously, for USF 2000, you finished. I think you finished like second in the championship. Yeah, second.
Yes, correct.
And then Pro Mazda, which is Indy Pro 2000, you won the championship, and they had the Road to Indy scholarship then as well, right? So you got the scholarship to go into Indy Lights.
Yes, that definitely gave me the opportunity to drive Indy Lights, because it's an expensive championship to drive, and you don't really have a sponsor yet that pays the whole sum. So that definitely gave me the opportunity, and then I came on the radar for Ed and his team, and he invited me to test over, and that's really how the ball started rolling.
When you did the ladder series, and of course you had a lot of success there, did winning that championship, was that the difference between you that scholarship? I mean, it's a great amount of money. Was that the difference between allowing you to keep going, or was that or could you have come up with the funding anyway, but it was a huge burden off your back?
I think it would have been very hard to get that funding going for Indy Lights. I think if I would have become champion in Pro Mazda, I would have done another year of Pro Mazda to get the scholarship. And right now, it really kept the flow going, and also gave me the opportunity to just move up another rank in the ladder.
Right. And then obviously, when you drove in Indy Lights, you finished second in the championship. I mean, and you won a ton of races, but you finished second. So I'm sure that, and it didn't stop you, because next year you're in IndyCar, but that has to make it a little more difficult, because I'm sure the ideal thing would have been to win the championship to get the scholarship money to move into IndyCar.
Yeah, that definitely would have helped. But that gave me a very, very good deal for my first IndyCar season. And I also had my own Dutch sponsors that wanted to help me, give me a push in the back for my first IndyCar season.
Mm-hmm. So your first IndyCar season, it was obviously a weird year, 2020. No fans. Like, did that feel? So going from 2021 to 2022, like, did 2022 kind of feel like your rookie season because of all the fans? Or like, what was that like, just racing? Like, you're on the big stage, you've dreamed about your whole life, and now you're racing, but there's no one there.
Yeah, it's different, but definitely the Indy 500 was the weirdest, with just no people on the stands, and it kind of felt like a testing day with a lot of pressure on it. But then basically, I think 2021 was already quite packed with fans, and there was still like a separate paddock, but we could get pretty close with the fans, and so I think 2021 was kind of felt like a rookie season. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like a veteran now, so I do feel like I know what I'm doing, so that's good.
When you were able to first run with a full house, or close to a full house last year, was that experience anything like you thought it would be at the Speedway? Obviously, was it anything like you thought it would be, or was it different somehow?
Definitely, it builds more pressure getting into the car, but then when you're in the car, you're not really looking at it, and you're not really focusing on it, because, well, at 240 miles an hour, you got other things to look at. But no, it it gives you more pressure. So I'm pretty happy that I had the opportunity to kind of do a laid back Indy 500 for the first time with no real pressure of fans around me.
Right.
You mentioned pressure a few times. Are you one that feels like when you have a larger crowd and that sort of thing, do you feel more of a pressure? Or because I realize there's more eyes on you, there's more expectations, more energy. Or are you a person who, you prepare so much that by the time you get to the race, it's a thing where it's not. I mean, the only pressure is if you don't know what you're doing, right? So I mean, how do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, I don't really feel a lot of pressure. Of course, with the Indy 500, it's the biggest race. It's a big deal for the team. It's a big deal for myself. But also, all those people around it, you kind of feel like everyone's looking at you. So it just builds a bit of pressure, but not a pressure that hurts me. It's more like kind of feeling like a rock star. You got to give the people a show.
Okay.
So I'm pretty good with the pressure. I think having done so many races during my career, I've been pretty good at coping with it.
So when you first went in IndyCar, this is a question I've asked most of the IndyCar drivers we've had on. Like, did you have a welcome to the big leagues moment? And I may know what that might be for you, but like just a moment where like, man, I can't believe like I'm racing here with with the big names, or maybe racing with so and so or someone knew your name, or see what I'm saying? Like, did you have a moment like that?
Well, of course, I got put with both feet on the ground when I had my debut in Texas, where everything went wrong. But then really when I was driving with the big guys, I think I remember Gateway 2020, where I was basically doing like full out race with Joseph Newgarden, I think it was Scott Dixon and Will Power, all the guys I always looked up against. And we were, racing into the pit lane, seeing who could come out fastest. So that was definitely a moment where I felt like one of the guys.
Was there a moment? Was there a time where you never felt like you belonged there until that moment?
You mean, was there a moment?
Well, I mean, like you hadn't fully realized you had arrived. I mean, did you have those feelings?
Not really. I always kind of knew that IndyCar would be a big deal. It's just a bigger deal than I expected it to be. Harder work than I ever imagined, but it only makes the results so much more satisfying.
How did you view like the other? I guess when you're a rookie in IndyCar, like how welcoming like are other competitors? Like, are they open with helping you with entry into corners and just at racing and like giving you advice, or some people more standoffish, or kind of how does that work? Kind of your first year in IndyCar.
Yeah, I think in IndyCar everyone's very very open and welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
One fun detail. I was doing Daytona beginning of this year,
right?
The 24 hours, and I was racing against basically a full-on IndyCar team with Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, and definitely Francesco. I was driving with Guido Vendegarde, Dutch XF1 driver, and we were talking with those guys after the race, and he told me, "Wow, they are so kind." I'm like, "Yeah, that's IndyCar. Everyone just talks to each other and has fun, and then when the fights go down, okay, you're competitors, but still there's a lot of respect involved." So I remember that moment, and I think it was a very nice little touch to see how special it is that all the IndyCar drivers are so close.
That's really interesting. For so long, this, all motorsports, all sports in general go through these golden ages, right? And then they kind of have these down periods. And IndyCar had this great golden era with Mears and Foyt and Andretti's and all that. And then they, obviously they retired, and then you had a little bit of a lag, and then you had to split, yada, yada, yada. and we move forward, and it's been a long, hard grind getting that back. But the Tony Kanans of the world, the Dario Franchittis, the Will Powers, all these guys have been Scott Dixon. They've really been a great face for the sport of IndyCar and really carried the sport for quite a few years now. Tony Kanaan obviously is another one, and now it's becoming your turn. And one thing I appreciate amongst younger drivers is it seems like you all really enjoy what you do.
We definitely do. Yeah.
There's a lot, you can tell there's a lot of laughing, a lot of joking, a lot of not so serious moments in a very serious environment. And it seems like the fans are very important to you guys. And I feel like the sport's in really great hands as we transition, the next 5 years, the sport's going to look completely different than it looks today. And you'll be one of the veterans. I mean, not that you aren't already a veteran, but you will be a salty veteran by this point. And I, for one, appreciate that. And I feel like the sport's in really good hands with you guys.
I think so too. And I really enjoy, and, with all the different generations driving right now, we get Elio, who is 46 years old, who's more than double my age. We get drivers that drive Indy cars since before I was born. And then we got us, the young guys, super eager to win, and kind of we could be their kids. So I think it's very, very special about IndyCar. Don't really see it like this in other big leagues around the world. So I think that's very special about IndyCar, and everyone's competitive. That's one very nice detail too. Everyone is fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were talking a little bit about doing the 2021. Well, so your first sports car race was Daytona 2021, right?
Yes, correct.
So what's that transition like, going from driving a single seater car pretty much your whole life to going into a sports car? I mean, is it a big learning curve, or is it not really a big learning curve?
It's a little different, but the IndyCar right now, it's a heavy car with the aero screen and everything on top. Going to that LMP car, it kind of feels the same, just no turbo, so it's a little easier to drive. But it's not that much different. You have to be a little bit more gentle. You can throw the IndyCar around a little more, but that's all really.
You mentioned the aero screen. Of course, Twitter the last couple of days, Will Buxton said he had spoke with some drivers who were not very happy with the aero screen, and they were looking they would like to run the Halo. And then, of course, Graham Ahal and a few others said, hey, no, I want the aero screen. Obviously, you was your first year open cockpit still? Your first year was still...
I have always done. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, you did. Obviously, you ran the lower division.
Or did you test? Did you test the IndyCar without a halo though?
I did. Yeah, in Portland and Ohio. Yeah.
So you do have a point of reference in this. Where do you kind of come in on that?
I like the aero screen. I think with the speeds we're doing, having something really around you, shielding you from bolts that become bullets.
Right.
That's very safe, and it's also unique. It's unique to IndyCar, and it's basically safer than the Halo. I think the biggest issue is the temperature in the car, but I like it. It's a little element that shows who is also the fittest driver, which comes in handy for me.
Right. I feel. Obviously, when they're able to build a new car and not have to retrofit, and they can really make it an integral part of the car, I feel like they'll figure out the comfort level of it. Unfortunately, they have to suffer for a little while longer with that. But
I think it's suffering, but it's fun. Like as an IndyCar driver, to see guys from outside IndyCar come to come in that car, and they come out of the car totally roasted, and it shows. Yeah, IndyCar is not easy, and I think it's the hardest sport in the world. So it only makes me proud to see people suffer getting into our cars.
The only person I would say that doesn't feel that way is probably Jimmy Johnson, because he's sitting inside those stock cars. I don't know what the temperatures get to now, but I mean the temperatures are crazy in those stock cars.
Yeah, I know their heels burn because it gets so warm in there.
Yeah, he's probably the only one. He's like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. Well.
I remember seeing an interview with one of the older IndyCar drivers, and he was, I mean, completely worn. I forget who it was. They were completely worn out, and maybe it was Will Power. I don't know. But then I remember them. I think they interviewed you, and you're like, "I'm fine. I'm good to go again."
Yeah, it's funny. It also all depends on how the car feels.
Mm-hmm.
I remember St. Petersburg this year was hard for me, just because I was saving fuel and I was under pressure from the back all the time. So every corner on the exit, I was looking into the mirrors, and for some reason, mentally you really get drained.
Right.
So we can't really let you get out of here without talking about your win. And obviously your family was there at arguably the greatest race course in the world. And I say arguably just to let other people think that they have a say in it, but I call it the greatest race course in the world as well. How was that? I mean, was that a culmination of all the work you put into it, or did you look at it like, hey, all right, this shows that I'm here and everybody is on notice?
I think it's a combination. We as a team, we put in a lot of work. I knew the team they have the car to win. I know I have the qualities to win. The only thing we had to do is show the world we could. So we did it that weekend. Everything went well, and the whole race was perfect. It's also a nice win where you just outpaced everyone instead of getting super lucky. It's also great, but really outpacing everyone and just winning because you're the fastest that weekend is great. And just super proud. And also for the team, their first win in almost 5 years. So it was not just for me, but also for the team, very emotional. And just a lot of happiness. Yeah.
Well, like I said, your family's there. I mean, there's to me, there couldn't be anything better than that, right? I mean,
no, they're always there.
Everybody, they're in a family of someone who races, that everyone goes on the journey together, in one way or another, and it just that had to feel amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing, and just like everyone saw on TV, it really showcased what the emotions were. And I think I don't have to do too much explaining when you see that. And still, when we talk about it as a family, the eyes start to sparkle again. And I think we all want to do it again another time very soon.
Well, as good as those cars that you're driving are at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there's a good chance you could be one of those guys who sweep the month of May at some point.
That's the dream. That would be a dream come true. Yeah. So first focus on Texas for me onto the next race. But in the back of my head, I'm already thinking to the 500.
So you were saying in St. Pete, you were really having some problems with the reds. And I think that was pretty common for everybody, right?
Yes. Yeah. Firestone changed the reds to more tire degradation. But then I got a read in the warm-up, which gave me a lot of understeer on the reds, the front's going off, and then in the race the rears were going off so hard. So and I was also saving the front, so it only got worse and worse. So that really kicked my butts a little, but we came back, and I think as a team we catched our breath again and showed best we could.
Oh yeah, a great finish. I mean, I know, every driver wants to stay on top of the podium every week. I get that, but I mean, you guys had a great finish. Especially, it was hot. I mean, I was down there, and it was roasting hot the entire weekend, and So yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what the tires situation was like. Do you so you go to Texas what in 2 weeks? And I mean Texas, how did you do at Texas last year? I know your first year was a little rough, but
We had a doubleheader last year, so I finished 19th in the first one and 21st in the second one because we were a little bit off sequence, and then we pitted, and just after I pit, there was a yellow. So I basically lost a lap, just for pitting a lap too early. So really unlucky, but that's also speedways.
yeah, I mean, I feel like you can really build on St. Pete though going into it. I realize it's an oval, but you had a really good start to the season, and if you can just get a really good qualifying situation, you guys would be right there. You guys are good right now.
I think so. Yeah, I think Chevy also has shown a lot of improvements. So I think this year can only get better, and I hope we can keep this good results up, and also keep the line going upwards throughout the whole season.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just have two quick things, and then we'll let you go. But first, so we were talking to a driver about. So you're talking about the 24 Hours of Daytona. We're talking about the IMSA like driver rankings. Like, so what? When we were just trying to understand it because it's so hard to find information on it. Like, what level of ranking are you considered in IMSA?
So I'm a gold. Basically, it's really sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like some drivers are silver, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely a gold. And some drivers are golds, and I'm like, no, that should be a silver. So it's a little confusing sometimes, but well, for me, I'm definitely a gold right now, being an IndyCar, having won a race. Yeah, it's a little bit of question mark on what they base it on and why. Good thing I'm an IndyCar. I don't have to think about it.
So you've driven IndyCar, you've driven sports cars. Is there any other type of race car maybe later down the road you would like an opportunity to drive?
I would like Fiat Supercar. That would be pretty cool to drive on Bathurst. As a little kid, I've always seen those cars also around there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
just so cool. Yeah, definitely want to try. Maybe I can try Scotty's old car.
There you go. That yeah, and I had one last question. Even though you're a younger guy, I think this is very relevant because you've just come through the feeder series, and we've had a few guests on here that are going through the feeder series right now and running USF 2000. And what kind of advice do you have for any of those young drivers?
Well, look at everything big picture. Don't try to win a race by doing a move that's probably not going to work, but just you're going to go for it anyway. Think about a championship and getting that scholarship home. And it will always save you at the end. And of course, you don't just drive like a grandma, but you gotta take some calculated risk and sometimes say okay to a P4 instead of a podium, and it will come around at the end.
Well taken.
Well, Rinus,
for me personally, thank you so much for taking time to call us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm sorry for being a little bit late.
Oh,
hey, that's fine with us.
Sure, thank you.
You're doing us a favor, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Rinus, and you're probably one of the nicest IndyCar drivers, so really appreciate that. I will say real quick, one of my favorite things was walking into the Ed Carpenter garage sale and seeing you going through the $10 bin.
Yeah, I'm always I always feel bad for all the stuff going away because there's so many memories involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got a wheel, and you signed it. I think it was from Nashville. I think you said.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So now, is that your way of saying that you're a hoarder? That you don't let go of stuff?
I am not ordered, but I'm trying to be. Yeah.
I would say do what you can to break that habit now.
Yeah. Well, I'm when I'm on my own, I'm very ordered. But when I have someone else that I can, let do the work, I always get a little lazy.
It's easy to do.
I definitely can identify with that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great night tonight, and take care.
Yep.
Thank you very
See you,
much.
Rinus.
Thank you. Bye-bye.